All right, well, looks like the show is going to be starting here. It's as we get ourselves ready to go here, and there we are. We are on the air. Hi, everyone. Stephen Britton here for Monday, December the 18th, I think. Hover the mouse over the calendar thing on my taskbar there. Yep, it's the 18th of December. What can I say? You know, one of these days I'll actually remember the date and I'll be able to just say, hey, it's whatever date it is, and away we go. Well, quick housekeeping item first. There's not going to be a show on Christmas Day. I'm not doing it. It's on a Monday. Not going to happen. Forget it. That's a family day. I'm probably, you know what? I'm actually going to take that whole week off. So no shows next week. So it's today, the following day, or like Wednesday and Friday. And then I'll be gone for a week. So I got 3 more shows to go this year. How about that? There we go. And that was just a decision made right now at this point in time. Because, well, I can do this. You see, it's my show. It's my rules. Right. Now, of course, you can find me all over the internet. You can find me on Facebook with Steve Speaks Freely. That's the handle, Steve Speaks Freely. You can find me on minds.com. You can find me on Twitter. And you can find me on a brand new website called makersupport.com. And all 3 of those locations, it's all the same address, SC Britton. SCBRITTON. That's where you can find me. If you want to support me, it's always appreciated. Never expected, of course, but it is always appreciated. And anything that comes to me from you, from your support, will be invested into making this show better and better and better. I'd like to be able to hire a research staff, hire people to supply me with some ideas, someone to do the engineering, the whole bit. One of the ideas that I've got down the road, for example, is to do a bit of a Skype-in show, you know, like a phone-in show kind of thing, but use Skype. And for that, though, I would need an engineer for the show to monitor the feed and screen calls and such. But that's down the road. Right now, we're going to do a little bit of stuff because, well, apparently, I'm an ass. And this is news, I know, but apparently I'm an ass. So let's find out why I am apparently an ass. And we can discuss that if you like. So, now for some reason I've got an open email on that screen. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll make one quick change. You know, again, you'd think that I would do this before I actually go on air, but I thought it was ready. What can I say? Because, of course, OBS, which is the software package I use, the reason I use OBS, it's free. I thought it was ready to go. It saved your settings from last time, but I'd forgotten that I'd switch screens. So, here we go. Apparently, I'm an ass. Now, this was a bit of a tweet storm which happened. Yes, I know, Twitter. It is what it is. Twitter tends to blow up at times. Bit of a tweet storm which happened last weekend. And it was about the whole subject of Indigenous land claims and atrocities performed to Indigenous peoples. And it all comes down to the same root issue. That being land claims, social justice warrioring, and all that. So some gentleman by the name of Malcolm S. Ramsey, I'm sure he's a very nice guy. He wasn't really that rude to me, but he'd sent a tweet towards Lindsay Shepherd, who we all know from the big explosion which happened at Sir Wilfrid Laurier University a little while back with her Professor Rambukana, or Rambun Kaka, or whatever his name is. So she's been tweeting, and she says here, I think land acknowledgements are cringe-inducing, thanks for asking. Will be reacting to them indefinitely or giving the land back? So this guy responds to her, and he's having he makes a bit of an attack on her. And then he just keeps going and going and going. So I decided to step in because this is what I do. And this is what I said. And I think this makes the point quite well. Now, whether it's fully historically accurate, is irrelevant. And the reason I'm saying that is because a number of people pounced on me and tried to point me out as being stupid because I referenced the Celts. Let's read what I said. I want an apology, I write, because my background is British, okay? I want an apology, I write, and compensation from all Italians, Danes, Norwegians, Swedish, and French of Norman descent. Because if you think about it, those are all the various different groups that at one time or another had invaded the British Isles. And descent for their invasions, raids, raping, and pillaging. Look at my hair color, look at my eye color. I'm clearly the descendant of someone who used rape as a weapon of war. And other systematic oppression of my indigenous Celtic ancestors of the British Isles. Now, of course, a few people pounced on me for saying that my ancestors were Celtic. Not realizing, of course, that the Celts covered all of the British Isles at one point. They were pushed back, essentially, by the Romans in the Roman invasions. But after the Romans left, of course, there was the Saxons. The Saxons, and then there was the Danes, and then there was the Normans. So it was a whole mishmash. And, of course, the Celts came in and displaced whoever it was who built Stonehenge. So how far back do you go? That's really the point I'm making, and I'm pointing out the absurdity of the argument here. Yes, there were atrocities committed, okay? Yes, they happened. And it's regrettable that they happened, and it's right for a government to say, look, we're sorry, it shouldn't have happened, and the government of the day was wrong to do it. That's one thing. It's quite another for me, as a white man, to carry the guilt from the past for what my ancestors may or may not have done. See, my ancestors did nothing towards North American Aboriginal society, North American Indigenous society. Sorry, I'm using the wrong terminology. Because my family didn't migrate to Canada until 1972. So it's really my fault that all these horrendous atrocities, such as residential schools and everything, happened. And just because I'm white doesn't mean I am guilty of that. So, that's the post I made. And I think it illustrated the point quite well. Unfortunately, a number of people did not agree. For example, and it's not here. But I thought the most prominent reply of this whole thread was this one right here. You're an ass, sir. Poignant, isn't it? Tell me something I didn't already know. Yes, I know full well I am an ass. And just because I turn your own argument around on you isn't what makes me an ass. What makes me an ass is I refuse to withhold my opinions, and they are different than yours. And I attack back when I am attacked. Those are the reasons that I am an ass. And I make no apologies for it. So there you go. I wanted to get that off my chest right away, get it out of the way, and get it done with. Because the other one I want to talk about here, it's rather an interesting thing. You see, Canada's got a prime minister who is an absolute moron. I can't describe him any other way. He's just an idiot. His dad, for as evil as his dad was and the horrendous things that his dad did, at least his dad had a brain. This guy doesn't even have that. He has a trust fund. Never needed to go to school. Born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Now, there's nothing wrong with being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Right? But what is wrong is the fact that this guy has become prime minister with absolutely nothing to qualify him for the job other than the basic, being a Canadian citizen. And yeah, I know that's what qualifies you for the job of prime minister or even member of parliament, but it certainly isn't a reason for people to vote for you. So that's the basics there. And fortunately or unfortunately, he is prime minister. And well, unfortunately, he is prime minister. He managed to swindle his way into winning an election, mostly on the backs of Alberta, by promising to, I don't know, in bribery and the usual political stuff that politicians do, right? Now, first headline here, the Prime Minister remains more popular than Andrew Scheer and Jagmeet Singh. But his approval ratings are tanking. And I've got another page to show you in a minute here. As Canadians bask in the warmth of goodwill and cheer over the holiday season, bundling up across the country to stay warm, it may feel a touch colder at Rideau Cottage in Ottawa. That's where he's living right now while 24 Sussex Drive goes through some very much needed renovations. It's become old and run down and drafty. And for the longest time, nobody wanted to touch it and actually deal with renovating it because of the price tag. And the stupid thing is, if it had been maintained properly to begin with, it would never have gotten into the state that it's in, and it would have cost us all a lot less money in the short term, in the meantime. But because people are afraid of spending money on things that are seen as perks, then nobody wanted to touch the thing. And that's just dumb. The Prime Minister, frankly, I don't care what party he's with for this, he needs an official residence. He needs somewhere to live, to receive dignitaries, to do his job in security and safety when he's away from the Hill, at home, at other times. Like the President of the United States lives in his office block, right? He lives in the White House, which makes a lot of sense, really. The Prime Minister, realistically, needs something like that as well. The only difference between the President of the United States and the Prime Minister is the President isn't part of the legislative process. So the President doesn't need access to Congress on a regular basis. Therefore, it makes a lot of sense for the President's office to be separate from the Capitol building. Canada's a bit different. Realistically, the Prime Minister should probably be living in Centre Block on Parliament Hill. But no, we're not going to do that. So he needs a house. He needs a residence, and it only makes sense to have an official residence of the Prime Minister. For the first time since the 2015 election, the Angus Reid Institute's quarterly analysis of polling data finds Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's approval below one-half. Further, half of Canadians now say they disapprove of the Prime Minister. This finding comes after a season that has seen Trudeau rebuffed in his efforts to secure a trade deal with China. He's an abject failure, and repeatedly forced to defend Finance Minister Bill Morneau against accusations of unethical behavior and conflicts of interest. Well, you know what? If he had acted ethically and not been in a conflict of interest to begin with, right, it wouldn't be an issue. The fact of the matter is, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it does not look good for the Finance Minister. And of course, he's a liberal, therefore he is unethical by definition, because liberalism in Canada, aka socialism, is unethical. The season has also seen the government secure an agreement with the provinces on marijuana taxation and a pair of by-election victories for his Liberal Party in ridings vacated by a Conservative Party MPs. Yeah, whatever. By-elections are always strange animals because very few people actually participate in them. So you get some really strange results, and you can't really use them as an indicator of the state of the government. Amid this mixed political climate, Trudeau's approval rating, though diminished, remains higher than those either of Conservative leader Andrew Scheer or New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh. Yeah, and what matters here is the trend. Now let's talk about this. Look at this. However, his disapproval rating is also higher than those of his opponents. So more people dislike Trudeau than dislike the other two. So Trudeau is becoming the worst of the evils. And more Canadians say it's time for a change in government. 46%, that's good. And when that number gets up there, that's when things start to move. Then say Trudeau's Liberals should be re-elected. They don't deserve it. They never deserved to be elected in the first place. So here we are, approve and disapprove. It's close, but he's definitely, more people don't like him. And overall, the people who don't like him really don't like him. The people who like him, maybe somewhat, they like him only a little bit. There's approve somewhat at 34%. So what the point is here is he is strongly disliked and only mildly liked. But let's look at the trend line. I'm going to go to this other page called the Trudeau tracker here for that. Now this was really an interesting page. And this isn't the page. Ah, here it is. No, that's not it. So we'll go in here. Oh, there it is. Here we go, the Trudeau tracker. And don't forget, the Angus Reid Institute is not a conservative-friendly polling firm. It's a liberal-friendly polling firm. They claim to be impartial, but they're not. No polling firm is impartial. That's why you get results all over the place. That's why Fox News can quote a bunch of polls and show the president doing very well, while CNN and MSNBC, who is even worse, will show other polling firms which showed that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election. Yeah. And that happened, didn't it? So, here we go. Here's the general ratings as we saw before. Now look at this. This is over time. This is by province over time. Overall, Newfoundland's at the highest with 60% approval, but they started at 85% approval. That was during the honeymoon phase. And it just, over time, it just tanks. And Nova Scotia, now the sample size is much smaller in each province, of course. Ontario, I don't understand Ontario. I never have, and I used to live there. But they're just don't make any sense at all. It's still fairly high, but all the various provinces, with the exception of Newfoundland, are clustered around here. Then we've got the outliers, which is Alberta and Saskatchewan, which is no surprise. Here in Alberta, we rightly hate the Trudeau name by definition because of what his father did to the west of Canada. And Saskatchewan's in no better place. So this just goes to show, yet again, that Trudeau is not only a very polarizing figure, but he is doing a terrible job, and Canadians are finally waking up to it. Now, the question is, of course, will this trend continue? I certainly hope so, and I hope you hope so too, because I don't think this country can survive another 4 years of this guy. Certainly Alberta won't. I predict that if Trudeau wins another election, with the majority, Alberta will seriously start looking towards separation. And that will be the death knell of Canada as a country as a whole. And if you're not in Ontario, if you're not in Alberta, that probably scares the living crap out of you. And so it should. I'll talk to you Wednesday. I'm Steve Britton. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this, and if you want to see more, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. You know how to do it. There's a little bell icon down below, there's a little subscribe button down below, and as well, you can find me in a number of different places on the internet. You can find me on Facebook with Steve Speaks Freely. You can find me on Twitter at SCBritton. And of course, there's two very important places that you can also find me. This is where, if you want to support the show and help me expand the audience and do all the stuff that us creators try to do with their shows, you can find me on minds.com, minds.com, at SCBritton. And you can wire me points, and you can wire me a few bucks if you choose to. You can try wiring me some ducks if you like, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere. And the other place that you could find me, and it's a brand new site, it's called makersupport.com. So you can check me out there as well, also at SCBritton. So remember that, SCBritton, BRITTON, and you can find me in all those different places. And above all else, please do subscribe. And also comment. I like to know what you think, so give me some comments while you're at it. Thanks.